Why do you look like you just discovered the meaning of life in my mediocre cappuccino? Jenna's voice was sharp, teasing, the kind that could slice through a room full of chatter and still sound melodic. She leaned against the polished counter of the cafe, designer bag hanging casually on her shoulder, eyes scanning the barista behind the counter with what could only be described as dangerous curiosity. I choked on my own nervous chuckle, gripping the edge of the counter as if it could keep me grounded. I just think it's a good latte, I mumbled, voice uneven. My name is Lily, and being called extraordinary was not exactly my usual experience. I poured coffee for a living, memorized orders, smiled politely, and lived in a small apartment with peeling paint and the faint scent of old books. I was ordinary, blessedly, hopelessly ordinary. Jenna's laugh rang through the cafe, a soft, intoxicating sound. You're smiling at me like I'm the first interesting thing you've seen all week, she said, leaning closer, her green eyes catching the morning light. And trust me, darling, I am interesting. I wanted to hide behind the espresso machine. I wanted to disappear into the aroma of roasted coffee beans, yet something about her presence, the confidence that radiated off her like sunlight, made me freeze. Not from fear exactly, but from a strange, fluttering anticipation. You might be, I admitted, almost whispering, and instantly regretted it. Saying yes, acknowledging her existence as more than a customer, felt like stepping off a cliff with no net. Her grin widened. I like that honesty. Not everyone can admit the obvious truth without pretense. Jenna tilted her head, studying me as though she could read every nervous thought flickering behind my wide brown eyes. Tell me, Lily, what do you dream about? Besides making cappuccinos. My heart stumbled. Who asks a barista about dreams? Who notices when a woman has nothing but the quiet hum of a city and the smell of coffee keeping her company? And why, of all people, was she asking me this? I like quiet things, I said finally, unsure where honesty would take me. Books. Long walks. Watching clouds. My voice faltered at the last, self-conscious, as if speaking of clouds in front of someone like her sounded ridiculous. Clouds, Jenna repeated, tasting the word on her tongue. That's poetic in a very practical, unimaginably boring way. I like it. Her smile softened, and suddenly she looked less like a city shark, and more like a girl who had just stumbled into a story she couldn't ignore. Maybe you and I are not so different, Lily. I like watching people underestimate me. I laughed nervously, unsure if she was serious. But there was a spark in her eyes, something that cut through the cafe's usual hum, a tension I couldn't name. I poured the coffee, keeping my hands steady, while she watched every movement. From the outside, the cafe was nothing special, a corner in the busy streets of downtown Chicago, sunlight streaming through smudged glass, a bell tinkling whenever someone entered. Inside, though, the air was suddenly charged. Jenna leaned a little closer each time I turned, her presence overwhelming yet magnetic, demanding attention in a way I had never known. Do you know what's funny? She said after a pause. I've traveled the world, met people with more money and power than most could dream of, and yet I've never been this intrigued by a barista. I blinked. I'm flattered, I guess. My words sounded laughable even to my own ears. Flattery, yes, but also curiosity. And danger, she added with a smirk, leaning over the counter so close I could feel her perfume, subtle, sweet, intoxicating. Lily, I want to see the world through your eyes for a day. Can you handle that? I froze. Me? The girl who spent her days behind the counter, who measured her life in coffee beans and tips, see the world through her own eyes with her. It may be, I stammered, unsure if I wanted to laugh or cry. She grinned knowingly. Good. Let's start with lunch. I insist. The first time we left the cafe together, the world felt different. Chicago's skyline seemed less like a backdrop for ambition and more like a stage for possibility. Jenna held the door open, her presence both comforting and electrifying. Each step beside her felt like a negotiation with my own fear. Stay ordinary, stay safer leap. Lunch was at a small rooftop garden in the heart of the city, somewhere I would never have wandered on my own. Jenna ordered with ease, charming the staff with her effortless grace, while I clutched the menu like a lifeline. Relax, Lily, she said, her green eyes catching mine. I don't bite unless you want me to. I laughed nervously, imagining the absurdity of it all. A millionaire flirting with me, a barista. Life was a cruel, ironic joke, yet somehow, amidst the laughter and clinking cutlery, it felt honest. We talked about everything and nothing. She spoke of business deals in cities I had only seen in movies. I spoke of bookstores, of rainy afternoons, of small victories like perfect foam on a latte. She really listened, and I realized with both terror and thrill that she might actually care. By the end of lunch, the sun was dipping behind the skyscrapers, painting the city in gold. Jenna reached across the table, her hand brushing mine, deliberate yet gentle. I could get used to this, she said softly. Being here. Being with you. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might burst. I don't know if I can do this, I whispered, fear and desire tangled together. Do what? She asked, tilting her head, eyes glimmering with a teasing light. Be special. To someone like you, I admitted, voice trembling. She smiled, a warm, knowing smile that felt like sunlight after a long winter. Lily, being special isn't about money or status. It's about honesty, about showing up. You're already extraordinary just by being yourself. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. The ordinary barista who thought her life was too small, too mundane, felt the tiniest spark of possibility. Days turned into weeks. Jenna visited the cafe more often, each encounter more charged than the last. She brought flowers sometimes, an absurdly elegant gesture for someone like me, but I didn't mind. I began to notice the small ways she watched me, how she noticed the curl of my hair falling into my eyes, the way my hands trembled when the cafe was busy, the quiet strength behind my nervous laughter. Our conversations grew deeper, layered with unspoken feelings and subtle touches. She would leave a tip, always generous, but her hand lingered a moment too long over mine, and my stomach would twist in anticipation. Then, one rainy afternoon, she did something I never expected. She came into the cafe soaked, hair plastered to her face, and simply sat down at my counter. No grand gestures, no dramatic lines, just her, looking like she needed someone to notice her in a way only I could. Lily, she said, voice soft, almost breaking. I don't want the world, the money, the power. I just want this. You. My breath caught. The cafe seemed to disappear around us. Only the sound of rain and her words existed. I reached out instinctively, placing my hand over hers. I want that too, I admitted. And just like that, the boundaries of our worlds began to blur. The ordinary and the extraordinary collided, not with fireworks and spectacle, but with quiet, undeniable truth. That night, as the city lights shimmered against the rain-soaked streets, I walked Jenna to her car. We lingered in the soft glow of the street lamp, the air thick with anticipation and unspoken promises. Are you scared? She asked, her thumb brushing against my knuckles. Terrified? I whispered, and she laughed softly, leaning in. Good, she said. Fear makes it real. It means you care. And then, finally, our lips met, gentle, tentative, electric. The world around us melted into nothingness. The ordinary barista and the city's most glamorous millionaire, finding something neither of us expected. Love that needed no embellishment, no status, no grandeur. It was messy and perfect and entirely ours. The next morning, the cafe felt smaller, cozier, and somehow more intimidating all at once. I kept glancing at the door, half expecting Jenna to appear with her usual confident stride, sharp green eyes scanning the room, the kind of gaze that made everyone else seem invisible. But she didn't come. Instead, the day dragged on in a monotony of coffee orders, the hiss of steaming milk, and polite small talk with regulars. By the afternoon, I was beginning to worry. Jenna didn't text, didn't call. My chest tightened with an unfamiliar anxiety. Was she annoyed? Had I done something wrong? Or worse, had she simply decided I wasn't worth her time? The bell above the door jingled, and my heart skipped before I even looked up. She was there, but not the Jenna I knew. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and her suit jacket was draped over one arm. Her green eyes were sharp, almost wary, and the usual spark of amusement was dimmed. Hey, I said cautiously, unsure if I should approach her or hide behind the counter. Hi, she replied, voice clipped, polite but distant. Can I have a latte? I nodded, trying to mask the worry in my face as I prepared her drink. Every movement felt deliberate, careful, as if I were walking a tightrope. Lily, she said, once the coffee was ready, we need to talk. My stomach twisted. Talk about us. She paused, finally meeting my eyes. I've realized something. I held my breath, unsure if this was about a future together or a breakup. The last few weeks had been intense, exhilarating, and terrifying in equal measure. The thought of losing her now felt unbearable. I'm not used to this, she continued. To someone like you. To feelings that don't come with contracts or boardroom meetings or carefully curated appearances. You make me feel something I've been running from for years. Her words hit me like a punch and a caress at the same time. I blinked, unsure how to respond. I feel the same, I admitted softly. But I'm not sure I'm ready for whatever this is. Her shoulders slumped slightly, the weight of vulnerability showing in the way she leaned against the counter. I know. I need to understand if you want me to, truly, or if I'm just a passing fascination. I swallowed hard. I want you, I said, finally letting the words tumble out. I want you, Jenna. I'm scared. I'm not used to being wanted like this. Her green eyes softened, a flicker of relief passing through them. That's fair. I'm not used to this either. We stayed like that for a while, the cafe's usual hum fading into the background as two worlds collided, hers, glamorous and commanding, and mine, quiet and ordinary. It wasn't dramatic fireworks. It was subtle, like the first bloom of spring after a long winter. The next days were a whirlwind. Jenna began inviting me to her world, a universe I had never glimpsed. High-end art galleries, rooftop cocktail parties, and luxury boutiques became the backdrop of our budding romance. Each outing was a collision of two realities, the ordinary and the extraordinary. I felt out of place yet strangely alive, as if being pulled into a story I had only ever read about in books. One evening, she took me to a charity gala she was hosting. I wore a simple black dress, elegant, but nothing compared to the designer gowns swirling around the room. Jenna, radiant as ever, guided me through the crowd, introducing me to powerful business figures, philanthropists, and socialites. I smiled, nodded, tried to appear confident, but my hands trembled slightly as she squeezed my arm reassuringly. You're doing great, she whispered, her breath warm against my ear. Just be yourself. That's what I love about you. Her words should have calmed me, but instead they amplified the anxiety bubbling inside. I felt exposed, judged, and incredibly visible. And yet, every time her hand found mine, every time her gaze lingered on me with unspoken affection, I felt anchored. The night was a blur of champagne, polite conversation, and the constant undercurrent of tension between us. Eventually, we found a quiet corner overlooking the city lights. The sounds of laughter and clinking glasses faded as we stood together in silence, watching the streets below. I can't imagine my life without you now, she admitted suddenly, her voice barely above a whisper. And yet, I'm terrified, Lily. Terrified of what this could mean for us. I turned to face her, my heart racing. I'm terrified too, I confessed. But isn't that part of it? Part of feeling alive? She smiled faintly, brushing a strand of hair from my face. Yes, but it also makes everything fragile. I nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. Love, especially one that bridged such different worlds, was delicate. One wrong move, one misstep, and it could all shatter. Days turned into weeks, and our relationship deepened. We navigated the complexities of our lives, balancing her public persona with my desire for simplicity. Jenna struggled with her reputation, while I wrestled with insecurities about not fitting into her world. Yet, despite the challenges, we found solace in each other: quiet mornings in the cafe, late-night conversations on her rooftop, and spontaneous walks through city streets illuminated by neon lights. One rainy night, as we walked back to her apartment after a dinner, the city glistening under the rain, she took my hand in hers. You know, she said softly, I've met countless people in my life. Some brilliant, some powerful, some charming beyond reason. But no one has ever made me feel whole. Except you. My chest tightened. I feel the same way, I admitted. You make me feel more than I ever thought I could. Her eyes glistened with emotion as she leaned in, pressing her forehead against mine. Then let's promise something, she whispered. No matter how complicated or scary it gets, we face it together. I nodded, tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. Together, I echoed. But life, as it often does, refused to let us exist in a perfect bubble. Rumors began circulating about our relationship, whispers of scandal and impropriety. Social media buzzed with speculation, and some of her business associates gave subtle warnings, hinting that her involvement with a barista could damage her image. Jenna tried to shield me, insisting that her world and mine didn't need to collide publicly. But the pressure began to weigh on me. I wasn't used to scrutiny, to the constant eyes on our every move. One afternoon, after a particularly stressful morning at the cafe filled with nosy onlookers and gossiping coworkers, I snapped. "I can't do this," I shouted, startling the few customers in the cafe. "I can't be part of your world if it's going to swallow me alive." Jenna froze, her green eyes wide with shock and hurt. "Lily, I didn't realize it was this hard for you," she said softly. "It's not just hard, it's terrifying. I just want to be normal, to live my life without everyone judging me for loving you." My voice broke, the tension of weeks spilling out in a torrent of fear and frustration. She stepped closer, taking my hands in hers. "Oh, Lily, I don't want to hurt you. I never wanted this to feel like a trap. But love is always a risk." "I know," I whispered, tears sliding down my cheeks. I'm scared of losing myself." She cupped my face gently, her thumb brushing away my tears. "You won't lose yourself. Promise. We'll figure this out together. I'll protect us and I'll protect you. Just don't shut me out." I shook my head, emotions swirling, fear, desire, love and longing all tangled together. I want to try," I admitted, voice trembling. "I just need time." She smiled faintly, a mixture of relief and sadness. "Take all the time you need. I'll be here." The tension between us didn't vanish overnight. It lingered, an invisible thread that wove through our days. But gradually we began to navigate the challenges, learning to communicate openly, to compromise, to lean on each other. Small victories like sharing a quiet dinner away from prying eyes, or simply holding hands while walking in the rain became symbols of our resilience. One evening, Jenna invited me to her apartment for a quiet night in. The city outside sparkled with lights, and the rain had finally stopped. She had cooked a simple dinner, something intimate and thoughtful, a world away from the glamorous events I had been thrust into. We ate in silence at first, the comfort of routine and familiarity enveloping us. Then, as the last light of day faded into night, she reached across the table, taking my hand. "Lily," she said softly, "I know this hasn't been easy, and I know our worlds are different, but I want you to know. I love you. Completely. Every part of you. Ordinary, extraordinary. All of it." My heart swelled, tears threatening again. "I love you too, Jenna," I whispered. "More than I can say." She smiled, a warmth spreading through her that made the world outside fade. "Then let's not let anything, fear, judgment, distance stand in our way." I nodded, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't known existed. For the first time, I realized that love wasn't about status, money, or appearances. It was about honesty, trust, and the courage to be vulnerable with someone who truly sees you. In the weeks that followed, our relationship deepened. We learned to navigate the challenges together, balancing my quiet, ordinary life with her dazzling public existence. The city became our playground, each street, cafe, and rooftop a witness to our growing bond. We laughed, we argued, we comforted each other in moments of fear and doubt. And through it all, the spark that had drawn us together continued to burn brightly, a testament to the extraordinary power of ordinary love. By the time summer rolled around, our relationship had transformed from a tentative attraction into a profound, unshakable bond. We spent long afternoons in the cafe, her presence a constant comfort as I worked. We explored the city hand in hand, discovering hidden corners, quiet parks, and secret rooftops. And every night, as we lay together, hearts entwined, I knew that I had found something rare and precious. A love that defied expectations, a connection that transcended worlds, and a future filled with possibility. Summer in Chicago brought a warmth that contrasted sharply with the tension that had settled between us over the past weeks. Despite the growing closeness, cracks were beginning to appear in our carefully woven bubble of love. The world outside, with its judgment, gossip, and relentless expectations, had a way of seeping into even the most private moments. One afternoon, Jenna arrived at the cafe looking distracted, her usual confident demeanor replaced by a subtle edge of worry. I noticed it immediately, the way her eyes darted around, scanning faces, as if searching for something threatening that only she could see. "Hey," I said softly, approaching her. "Everything okay?" She gave me a small, tight-lipped smile. Yeah, just some work stuff." I wanted to push to ask more, but I hesitated. She had always been the one to guard her vulnerabilities, to maintain control, and I knew pressing her too hard could drive her away. Instead, I poured her latte with careful hands, the steam curling around me like a shield. But as the day went on, the tension became palpable. Texts from business associates, whispered phone calls, and the occasional glances from strangers at the cafe reminded me that Jenna's life was far more complicated than mine. I felt small, ordinary, and powerless in ways I had never imagined. That evening, she invited me to her apartment. The penthouse was stunning glass walls that opened to panoramic city views, modern furniture that gleamed under soft lighting, and an air of sophistication that was both beautiful and intimidating. I felt a familiar pang of inadequacy, wondering how someone like me could truly fit into this world. Jenna noticed immediately. She reached for my hand, her touch grounding me. "Don't think about it," she whispered. "I love you, not your experience or your world. Just you." Her words were comforting, but the moment was fragile. The first real storm hit a week later. A prominent gossip magazine ran a story with a headline that made my stomach twist. "City millionaire caught in romance with barista. Scandal or true love?" The article speculated endlessly, painting our relationship as a spectacle, a power imbalance, and a calculated social experiment. I read the article at the cafe, my hands trembling, coffee forgotten on the counter. My colleagues glanced over, their expressions a mix of curiosity and judgment. I felt exposed in ways I had never felt before. Jenna arrived shortly after, sensing immediately my distress. Her eyes softened, but there was an unmistakable tension behind them. "I saw the article," she said quietly, sitting across from me. "I'm sorry. I didn't anticipate this." "It's not just the article," I said, my voice tight. "It's everyone looking at us, judging us. I feel like I'm on display, like my life isn't my own anymore." She reached across the table, taking my hands in hers. "I know, and I hate that it's happening. But Lily, we can't let this define us. We have to trust ourselves, trust us." "I want to," I whispered. "I really do. But I'm scared, Jenna. I'm scared that one day you'll realize I'm not enough for your world." Her green eyes held mine, steady and unwavering. "Lily, listen to me. You're more than enough. I don't need someone to match my wealth or my status. I need someone who's real, who makes me laugh, who sees me for who I truly am. That's you." Her words should have been enough to ease the fear clawing at my chest, but the weight of public scrutiny was a relentless force. Every time I walked into the cafe, every time someone whispered or stared, the doubt crept in again. The tension reached a breaking point one rainy afternoon. I had closed the cafe early, desperate to escape the prying eyes and the constant hum of judgment. Jenna insisted on joining me, but I was irritable, exhausted, and emotionally raw. "Why do you have to drag me into your world all the time?" I snapped, my frustration spilling over. "I can't do it, Jenna. I can't keep pretending that I belong." She froze, taken aback by the force of my words. "Lily," she began, her voice gentle, but I cut her off. I love you, but this pressure, it's too much. I'm not ready for it." Tears blurred my vision as I turned away, unable to look at her. The rain outside mirrored the storm inside me. She approached slowly, placing a hand on my shoulder. "I never wanted to hurt you," she said softly. "I just wanted us to be together. But I see now. I may have rushed things. I forgot that our worlds are different, and that merging them takes more than love." I shook my head, heart aching. "I don't want to lose you, but I don't know how to survive this." Her thumb brushed my cheek, a tender gesture amidst the storm. "Then we take it one step at a time. We figure it out together, even if the world doesn't understand." Over the following weeks, we tried to rebuild the fragile bridge between us. The gossip continued, though Jenna did her best to shield me, keeping public appearances separate from our private life. Slowly, I began to regain confidence, learning to assert myself in a world that often felt overwhelming. We discovered new ways to connect, small rituals that reminded us of our love without the glare of public scrutiny. Early morning walks in the park, late-night talks over lukewarm coffee, and quiet dinners at home became our sanctuary. One evening, as the sun set over the city, we found ourselves on her rooftop, the skyline glowing in gold and purple hues. Jenna pulled me close, her hand resting lightly on my back. "You know," she said softly, "I've been thinking about how fragile this all feels, but also how real it is, and how worth it." I leaned my head against her shoulder, heart full. "I feel the same. Every challenge, every doubt. It's worth it if it means being with you." Her green eyes met mine, serious yet soft. "Then we face it all. Together. No matter what the world says." I nodded, tears of relief and joy slipping down my cheeks. "Together," I echoed. The next challenge came from Jenna's business world. A high-stakes negotiation threatened to pull her away, demanding long hours, travel, and the kind of focus that left little room for our fragile relationship. I felt the familiar fear creeping in, the fear of losing her, of being left behind. But Jenna surprised me. Instead of pushing me aside, she made a choice. To include me, to show me that our love mattered even amidst chaos. She shared her plans, explained her work, and invited me to be part of her world on my own terms. "It's not about you changing who you are," she said. "It's about us finding balance. You don't have to be extraordinary in my world. You just have to be yourself." Her words resonated deeply. I realized that love wasn't about perfect conditions or a life without challenges. It was about partnership, trust, and the courage to face obstacles hand in hand. One night, after a long day of work and public appearances, we found ourselves alone in her apartment. The city lights sparkled through the windows, but the room felt like our own private universe. Jenna took my hands, her green eyes searching mine. "Lily," she whispered, "I've been thinking a lot about us, about what this love means. And I know now that I don't care what anyone else thinks. I want to be with you. Fully. Completely." I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. "I want that too," I admitted. "I'm ready. Ready to face everything, as long as we do it together." Her smile was radiant, lighting up the room. She leaned in, pressing her lips to mine in a kiss that was tender, passionate, and full of promise. In that moment, all the fear, doubt, and judgment faded. All that mattered was user love, fragile yet unbreakable, ordinary yet extraordinary. The following months were a testament to resilience. We navigated challenges, celebrated victories, and built a life together that honored both our worlds. The cafe became our anchor, a place where our love could exist without pretense, while Jenna's public life continued to thrive. We learned to communicate, to compromise, and to protect the sacred space between us. Every morning, I greeted her with a smile, coffee in hand, and every evening, she held me close, reminding me that love wasn't about perfection, it was about presence, honesty, and unwavering commitment. One quiet Sunday, as we walked hand in hand through the city streets, Jenna paused to pull me close. "You know," she said softly, "I think we've created something rare, something beautiful, and I wouldn't trade it for anything." I smiled, resting my head against her shoulder. "Neither would I. Ordinary or extraordinary. It doesn't matter. We're us." She laughed, a sound that filled me with warmth. "Exactly. And that's more than enough." In the end, we discovered that love wasn't about status, wealth, or the opinions of others. It was about two people choosing each other, every day through fear, doubt, and uncertainty. It was about embracing imperfection and finding beauty in the ordinary. And as the city lights twinkled around us, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, two hearts, one love, and a lifetime of ordinary, extraordinary moments. The city had grown quieter that fall, the streets painted in shades of amber and gold. There was a crispness in the air that hinted at change, a subtle reminder that life moved forward whether we were ready or not. For Lily and Jenna, this was the season of consolidation, the time when love, tested and strained, began to settle into a rhythm that felt sustainable, warm, and resilient. Lily had grown into her confidence in ways she hadn't imagined. The gossip, the scrutiny, the whispered judgments, all of it had slowly lost its power over her. She had learned that being ordinary didn't mean being invisible. It meant being authentic. And with Jenna by her side, she realized that her ordinary life, her small joys, her quiet moments of contentment, were extraordinary in the way that mattered most. Jenna too had transformed. She no longer saw their differences as obstacles but as strengths, as layers that gave depth and richness to their love. The fear of judgment had not disappeared entirely, but it had been tempered by trust, patience, and shared courage. Together, they had navigated the choppy waters of public attention, the delicate balance between their worlds, and the personal insecurities that had threatened to pull them apart. One chilly October morning, Jenna appeared at the cafe with her usual flair, but today there was something different. Her green eyes were bright, but there was a nervous energy about her, an edge that made Lily's stomach flip. "Morning," Lily greeted, pouring a latte with practiced ease. "You look distracted." Jenna laughed softly, the sound carrying a hint of excitement. "I am, but in a good way. Can I talk to you for a moment? Somewhere private?" Lily nodded, heart quickening. She led Jenna to the small rooftop terrace behind the cafe, where the city sprawled beneath them, bathed in the soft glow of morning sunlight. The air was crisp, the sky clear, a perfect canvas for beginnings. Jenna took a deep breath, her fingers brushing against Lily's. "Lily, these past months, they've been incredible. Challenging, sometimes terrifying, but incredible. And through it all, I've realized something." Lily's heart raced. She had a feeling she already knew what was coming, but the uncertainty, the hope made her breath catch. "I don't want to imagine my life without you," Jenna continued, voice steady despite the emotion shining through. "I want to share everything with you, my successes, my fears, my ordinary moments, my extraordinary ones. And I want you to know that I love you completely. And I want to make sure you know just how serious I am about us." Tears pricked Lily's eyes. She had waited in a quiet, anxious way for this kind of affirmation. She reached for Jenna's hands, holding them tightly. "I love you too, Jenna. More than I ever thought possible. I've grown so much. Because of you, because of us. I don't want to let go either." Jenna's smile was radiant, a mix of relief, joy, and tender affection. "Then, I want us to take the next step. If you're ready." Lily blinked, heart thudding. "Next step." Jenna reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small, elegantly wrapped box. Inside was a simple silver ring, understated but undeniably beautiful. "I don't need extravagance," she said softly, sliding the ring onto Lily's finger. "I just need you. Will you marry me, Lily?" The world seemed to pause. The hum of the city, the distant honks of traffic, the rustle of leaves all faded into the background. Lily's mind raced, filled with disbelief, joy, and a profound sense of rightness. "Yes," she whispered, tears spilling freely. "Yes, Jenna. Of course I will." Jenna laughed softly, pressing her forehead to Lily's. "You make me the happiest person alive." And in that moment all the fears, the doubts, the obstacles they had faced melted away. They were simply two hearts beating in synchrony, choosing each other despite the odds, despite the scrutiny, despite the worlds that seemed so different on paper, but blended perfectly in reality. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of planning, compromise, and laughter. They decided on a small, intimate wedding, a celebration of love rather than status. The ceremony was held in a quiet garden overlooking the city, sunlight filtering through golden leaves, the scent of fresh flowers mingling with the crisp autumn air. Friends, family, and a few of Jenna's closest colleagues attended, each witnessing a love that had grown against the odds, resilient and radiant. Lily wore a simple white dress, elegant but unpretentious, her chestnut hair falling softly around her shoulders. Jenna looked stunning in a tailored suit, her blonde hair glowing in the sun, her green eyes shimmering with emotion. As they stood hand in hand, exchanging vows, the world seemed to shrink, leaving only the two of them in a bubble of devotion and trust. "I promise to love you," Jenna said, voice steady but rich with feeling. "Through every challenge, every triumph, every ordinary day, and every extraordinary one. I promise to protect our love, to nurture it, and to choose you every single day." "I promise the same," Lily replied, tears streaming, her voice filled with raw honesty. "I promise to stand by you, to face life with you, and to cherish every moment we share. Ordinary or extraordinary, I choose you." As they kissed, the applause of their friends and family seemed distant, unimportant. The only thing that mattered was the connection, the deep, unbreakable bond they had forged through fear, laughter, struggle, and unwavering love. The months after the wedding were blissfully ordinary, and yet extraordinary in their quiet beauty. The cafe remained Lily's sanctuary, and Jenna's world continued to thrive, but their love provided a steady center, a grounding force in a chaotic city. They explored Chicago together, discovered hidden parks, secret rooftops, and quiet streets that became their private retreats. They laughed often, sometimes until their sides ached, and cried together when life's inevitable hardships surfaced. They celebrated successes, comforted each other in losses, and continued to build a shared life that honored both their worlds without compromise. One evening, sitting on the rooftop of their shared apartment, Jenna pulled Lily close. The city lights sparkled below, but the real brilliance was in the warmth between them. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" Jenna asked, her head resting on Lily's shoulder. "All the time," Lily admitted, leaning into her. "I never imagined my life could be like this. Full, challenging, beautiful. And it's all because of you." Jenna smiled, brushing a strand of hair from Lily's face. "And it's all because of us. We face fear, doubt, judgment. And we chose each other anyway. That's the extraordinary part." Lily laughed softly, tears of joy brimming in her eyes. "I used to think being ordinary meant my life would be small. But you've shown me that ordinary can be powerful, meaningful, and beautiful. And you've shown me that love doesn't need grandeur or perfection," Jenna said, kissing the top of Lily's head. "It just needs honesty, commitment, and the courage to be vulnerable." They sat in silence, watching the city breathe beneath them. The skyline, once intimidating and overwhelming, now felt like a backdrop to their own story, a story of resilience, courage, and the extraordinary power of ordinary love. Time passed, and their love only deepened. They faced challenges, of course, small misunderstandings, professional pressures, and the occasional judgment from the world outside, but each obstacle became a chance to grow closer, to communicate more honestly, and to reaffirm their devotion. Lily found joy in the small things. Brewing coffee just the way Jenna liked it, leaving little notes around the apartment, and laughing at the private jokes that only they understood. Jenna delighted in creating moments of magic for Lily, from spontaneous weekend getaways to quiet dinners on the balcony, each gesture a testament to their deepening bond. One quiet Sunday morning, they found themselves back in the cafe, just as they had been when their story began. The bell above the door tinkled as regulars came and went, but the world outside felt distant. Jenna reached across the counter, taking Lily's hand in hers, a silent acknowledgement of how far they had come. "I love you," Jenna said simply, her green eyes shining. "I love you too," Lily replied, a smile spreading across her face. More than words can ever say. And in that moment, surrounded by the aroma of coffee and the gentle hum of everyday life, they knew that love, ordinary, extraordinary, imperfect, and true, was enough. It was all they needed. No matter what the world threw at them, no matter how different their worlds might seem, they had each other. And that, they realized, was everything. The city continued to bustle around them, but inside the quiet cafe, two hearts beat as one, ordinary yet extraordinary, fragile yet unbreakable. Their story, born from curiosity and connection, had blossomed into a life full of love, laughter, and shared dreams. And for Lily and Jenna, that was more than enough. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.